Hello everyone, my name is Alexandra and today I'm going to be telling you my walk-away story. I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to let you guys know a little bit about myself while introducing the topics that I'll be discussing on this channel. For those of you who don't know what the walk-away movement is, it was started by Brandon Straka, who is just a regular guy in New York City who created a video where he explained why he, as a lifelong Democrat, was deciding to walk away from the Democratic Party. And when he shared this video, he created a Facebook group called the Walk Away Campaign, where he encouraged other people to share their own testimonies about why they were no longer supporting the Democratic Party with the hashtag walkaway. So to start off, a little introduction about myself and my personal history. I grew up in Burlington, Vermont, and for those of you who don't know, that is Bernie Sanders' town. Both of my parents are Democrats. I spent basically all of my formative years as a Democrat from childhood and to and through my teenage years. In high school, I became very interested in politics. Not really interested in policy or economics, but very passionate about social politics and identity politics. I'm a very empathetic person, so the idea of helping oppressed and marginalized groups of people was very appealing to me, and it still is. I just have a different perspective on how we should go about helping those people, which is funny because at the time I just never even considered the fact that there might be a different way of approaching these issues. I know a lot of people who have gone from the left to the right. A lot of them either weren't political or they identified more with classical liberalism, not really the new progressive left. That wasn't the case for me at all. I was in a liberal state. I went to a very liberal private high school, and I was still so radical and so outspoken that I annoyed pretty much everybody around me. And I didn't care because it was my way or the highway, and I would fight to discredit anybody who thought differently. I surrounded myself in an ideological echo chamber so that I didn't have to listen to any other points of view. And I justified this by saying that anybody who thought differently than me was a racist, a sexist, a homophobic, a xenophobic, so that it would make sense for me not to listen to their points of view. And this justification was reiterated to me by the people around me who would support me, give me a platform to speak, and pat me on the back when I shared this woke narrative. My echo chamber became my community, and so my ideals became my identity, which is so dangerous because it takes away your ability to see things without bias, which is such a big problem because so many people, especially young people, are finding their identity within issues instead of identifying with the issues. But the good news is, an identity that's based in mob mentality is very unstable, because all that you need to start breaking it down is to get another perspective, which isn't as easy as it should be, but it can happen, and that's what happened to me. When I moved to LA, I was fortunate to make quite a bit of friends who were conservative, which is kind of funny because LA is such a liberal city. My boyfriend is a conservative, but we never talked about politics before until I actually had feelings for him. And I told him the other day that if I had known his political beliefs before I cared about him, I probably wouldn't have given him any chance at all, which is like very scary to think about. But that was the first few bricks out of the wall that I had up, because I'd always told myself that conservatives and Republicans were these evil people. And so here I had somebody who I cared about and who I knew was a good person that just had different beliefs than me. And I was like, what? Like this exists? This is a thing? And he actually never tried to convince me of anything. I have a lot of people, specifically feminists, try to discredit my beliefs now by saying that I'm just succumbing to my boyfriend's beliefs and giving into the patriarchy, which is really funny because they're feminists. They're supposed to support other women, not discredit them just because they have different beliefs. It was actually one of our friends who really sat me down and talked to me and challenged my beliefs in a respectful way, and he actually loaned me his camera for this video, so thank you, Ian. You're the best. But he sat me down and he asked me a bunch of questions like, okay, you're a democratic socialist. What's the difference between democratic socialism and socialism? Where in the world does socialism work? A bunch of questions that I basically had no answer before, despite them being the basis of my entire belief system. So at this point, I was still defending my beliefs in conversation, but I did want to go out and do more research. Not because I thought there was any chance that I was wrong, but because I wanted to better defend my beliefs. So it was a big surprise to me when the more research I did, the less stable I was in my beliefs. And then something groundbreaking happened. A friend of mine was featured in an SJW cringe compilation. And she shared this with some caption like, "I just love making the dumb white boys cringe." And so I clicked on this video and I went to the YouTube video and I watched it. And then I went to the next suggested video and I watched that. And then I watched the next one. And I basically just never stopped watching these videos. And something interesting happened while I was watching these videos. I realized how ridiculous the narrative I was pushing and the way that I was pushing it was. And the reason for this is because when you're at these rallies and protests, when you're preaching about these radical ideals on social media, when you're getting into fights and debates at school, you're pretty much always surrounded by people who agree with you, and you get instant gratification from it. So when you take a step back and actually get to see what you look like from an outside perspective, without the community surrounding, without the praise, you realize what you're actually doing and what you're actually saying. So this woke me up to the fact that most of my beliefs were just based in mob mentality and virtue signaling. And I realized how this progressive mob exists on the foundation of censoring other beliefs and shutting down the conversation before it even starts. And I realized that that was something that I was really guilty of, which was a hard realization to have, because it really made me have to get off my high horse. And then I started watching more conservative commentators, conservative news, reading more conservative publications, and just getting a different perspective. So having my eyes open to the dangers of the leftist groupthink mentality is what pushed me away from the left. And listening to more conservative ideologies and policies is what pulled me towards the right. I went from believing that people should be forced to do good deeds to believing that it's on us as a community to help and support our neighbors. I went from believing in equal outcome to believing in equal opportunity. And I went from believing in censorship to believing in the diversity of thought. We do not need the government to succeed and be good people. We are strongest when we have a big sense of community, not a big government. I'll be expanding on all of these topics and much, much more in my future videos. So make sure that you hit subscribe, let me know what you think, and thank you for watching.